Hello, everybody. My
All
name is
right.
Michael, and I am a student
Hello,
of the
everybody.
Harvard
Hope you're having a
CS50P
wonderful day
course
so
offered
far.
online through
My
EDX
name
in
is Michael.
2024, and this is my final project.
Whoa. Hold up. Sorry, guys. That probably was pretty loud. My fault. My fault. Hope you guys are having a hope you guys are having a wonderful day so far. Welcome back into the stream. My name is Michael. We're going to be continuing on with our studies in computer science and Python today. We're going to be working on the normal stuff. Mahan, dude, welcome back in, man. Where you been? Awesome to hear from you again, man. Finally alive after college. Got you struggling. All right, let's get the Twitch loaded up. There we go. We are live on Twitch as well right now. Thank you truly for being here, everybody. Welcome in. Let's go ahead and grab in. Let's grab the chat here. All right. Sweet. Ready for foursome today? Pause. We'll see what no one we're on today. Hello, Shaxoid. Welcome in, dude. Hey, Miss Kitty. Stop scratching the wall. Welcome back in, you guys. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day so far. Let me go ahead and give my kitty some food. She's chirping at me. She's hungry. So let me go ahead and feed the kitty real quick. Come on. There we go. Let me go ahead and feed the kitty real quick. Be right back. All right, the kitty is fed. The pup is fed. Nice view out the window. All right. 120 imaginary cup. Nice. Hey, Shaxoid, welcome in, dude. Okay, you guys, let's go ahead and warm up a little bit of reading, and then we'll dive in and get the Leet code problem going, and then start working on our project. Okay. Let's read a little bit here. Where are we at? Where this is going to be DSA in Python. Let's get started here. Two applications of sorted maps. In this section, we explore applications in which there is particular advantage to using a sorted map rather than a traditional unsorted map. To apply a sorted map, keys must come from a domain that is typically ordered, that is totally ordered. Furthermore, to take advantage of the inexact or range searches afforded by a sorted map, there should be some reason where nearby keys have relevance to a search. Flight databases. There are several websites on the internet that allow users to perform queries on flight databases to find flights between various cities, typically with the intent to buy a ticket. To make a query, a user specifies the origin and destination cities, a departure date, and a departure time. To support such queries, we can model the flight database as a map where keys are flight objects that contain fields corresponding to these four parameters. That is, a key is a tuple, where a key is origin, destination, date, and time. Um, Additionally, additional information about a flight, such as a flight number or number of seats available in the first and coach class, the flight duration, and the fare can be stored in the value object. Finding a request flight is not simply a matter of finding a requested flight is not simply a matter of finding an exact match for a requested query. Although a user typically wants to exactly match their origin and destination cities, he or she may have flexibility for the departure date and certainly will have some flexibility for the departure time on a specific day. We can handle such a query by ordering our keys lexicographically. Then, an efficient implementation for a sorted map would be a good way to satisfy users' queries. For instance, given a user query key K, where we could call find the GE on that key to return the first flight between the desired cities having a departure date and time matching the desired query or later. Better yet, with well-constructed keys, we could use find range K1, K2 to find all flights within a given range of times. For example, if the key 1 is ORD is the origin, the destination is PVD on the 5th of May at 9:30, and the K2 is equal to ORD PVD May 5th at 20, right? A respective call to the find range K1, K2 might result in the following sequence, where it gives you all the values of time with the times that are fit in between that range. Okay. Life is full of trade-offs. Maximus says, life is full of trade-offs. We often have to trade off a desired performance measure against a corresponding cost. Suppose, for the sake of an example, we are interested in maintaining a database rating automobiles by their maximum speeds and their cost. We would like to allow someone with a certain amount of money to query our database to find the fastest car they can possibly afford. We can model such a trade-off problem as this by using a key-value pair to model the two parameters that we are trading off, which in this case would be the pair cost speed for each car. Notice that some cars are strictly better than other cars using this measure. For example, a car with a cost speed pair of 20,000 to 100 is strictly better than a cost to speed pair of 30,000 to 90. At the same time, there are some cars that are not strictly dominated by another car. For example, a car with a cost speed pair of 20,100 may be better or worse than a car with a cost speed of 300,120, depending on how much money we have to spend. So here's that. In figure 10.9, illustrating the cost performance trade-off with pairs requested by points in the plane. Notice that point P is strictly better than point C, D, and E, but may be better or worse than points A, B, F, G, or H for performance. Depending on the price we are willing to pay. Oh, so more. Okay. Thus, if we are to add P to our set, we could remove the points C, D, and E, but not the others. Formally, we say a cost-performance pair A and B dominates the pairs C and D that do not equal A and B. If A is less than or equal to C and B is greater than or equal to D, that is, if the first pair has no greater cost and at least as good performance, a pair AB is called a maximum pair if it is not dominated by any other pair. We are interested in maintaining the set of maxima of a collection of a cost performance pairs. That is, we would like to add new pairs to this collection, for example, when a new car is introduced. And to query this collection for a given dollar amount, D, to find the fastest car that costs no more than D dollars. Maintaining a maxima set. AJ Brady, dude, what's going on, dude? If you guys are here, leave a thumbs up on the stream for the early crew. If you're a part of the early crew, thanks so much for being here. My hair's getting a little long. Again, I'm going to need another cut here soon. Honestly, I'm not really feeling this reading today. We're almost, one more page. We're almost at 10.4. That's where we'll stop. Okay. Maintaining a maxima set with a sorted map. We can store the set of maxima pairs in a sorted map M so that the cost of the key field and performance speed is the value field. We can then implement operations add C and P, which will add cost performance pair C and P, and best C, which returns the best pair with a cost at most C, as shown in code fragment 1011. So we have class cost performance database. When you initialize, you have the map is a sorted table map. Best of given some cost, so return the cost performance pair with the largest cost not exceeding C, right? So return find the LE of C. Add cost pair, add a new entry with cost pair performance, determine if C and P is dominated. So other is to find the LE of C. If other is not none and other at index 1, so the cost is its performance, sorry, is just as good or greater than we return. In an implementation of a class maintaining a set of maxima cost performance pairs using a sorted map. Unfortunately, if we implement M using the sorted table map, the add behavior has O of N worst case running time. If, on the other hand, we implement M using a skip list which we next describe, we can perform best C, the best cost queries, in O log N, expected time, and the add cost performance pair updates in 1 plus R log N, expected time, where R is the number of points removed. This one is this is getting a little bit dense here, guys. So I'm right there with you if you're like, what is going on here? Anyways, let's move on to something else. I'm just not really feeling the reading today. All right. Let's see what we can do here. Appreciate you guys for being here. Thanks so much for joining me. How you guys doing today? What you guys studying? What are you guys working on? Let me know what you guys got going on. My eyes are getting a little tired though. I need to drink my soda here. Wake up, Mike. Wake up. All right. Cool. Climbing stairs. Number 70. You are climbing a staircase. It takes n number of steps to reach the top. Each time you can either climb 1 or 2 steps. And how many distinct ways can you climb to the top? Is this not just a permutation problem? Two. Okay, you are climbing a staircase. It takes n steps to reach the top. Each time you can either climb 1 or 2 steps. How many distinct ways can you climb to the top? Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Let's think here. So we can either move 1 or 2 spaces to get to N. Climb stairs. So how can I determine like the randomness? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, huh. This sounds interesting. I've never thought of a problem like this before. Okay. So let's think here. I'm a little tired today, which might limit my abilities here. But we have some case where we need to count back up the recursions. Huh. Okay, let's think here. So if N is equal to 1, so right, the first case is if N is equal to 0, we return, because that means there's no more steps to be had. You return 0, maybe. Let's think. Now, if N is equal to 1, do you really need to go further one more? If N is equal to 1, right, you would obviously have to take one step to reduce this down to 0, which you would then return 0 back and start counting the number of steps it took back. Right? It can't be 0. There's a constraint, right? Good catch. Good catch, Naaman. So it can't be 0. So our base case has to be on a step of 1. You return 1, right? Now, what happens if you get to a step and N equal 2 though? At that point, you can either take a step of 2 or 2 steps of 1. So that isn't our base case, because you still can make a move. This is the last case at which you can make. So if you're greater than or equal to 1, no. Well, this constraint of 1 is kind of tripping me up because let's say you have 2 steps. If you have an n equal 2 and you move a 2-stepper, then your n equals 0 at that point in time. But that won't happen though because of these constraints. So I guess then n equals 3 would move you 2 steps down to 1, or 1 step down to 2, 1 more step down to 1. Okay, so we've got to stop thinking about the 0 then because it doesn't matter. Okay, so we want to return the value of 1. Else, we need to continually sum. How do you determine which step to take? That's my thing. Is it random? Like, how do you determine whether, okay, now I take a single step or now I take a double step? Huh. One step, one step, one step. Huh. This one's a little tricky. I might have to think about this one for a little bit. There are 3 ways to climb to the top. 1 step plus 1 step plus 1 step. So you start on 0. So if you get to, so are we going to start counting down, or do we want to count up to n? Well, it probably would be easier to count down. So, right, okay, then what do we want to do, though, in this function if n is greater than? So this wouldn't be greater than, actually, this would be less than or equal to 1, return 1. But it probably should just be equal to, because we have the constraint, but we'll see for now. So now what else do we want to do, though, is we need to move we need to, I don't know, return climb stair. Pardon me. Return climb stair. This will return 1. We have to give an integer of n minus 1 to continue this downward, right? We have to adjust the input value down or up in some case. This will return 1. So then if we keep adding plus what? What do we need to sum here? How can we determine if we take 1 step or 2 steps? Oh, so we got to call them both. So we got to say self n minus 1 self dot climb stair n minus 2, right? We need to sum both those together and return here. Indentation, unindented, no. Oh. Hey, Carlos. Let's go, dude. How's your reading going? Appreciate you for joining me again. Let me know how you're doing, dude. Awesome to hear from you. So we return the two recursive calls of here. Oh, climb stairs. Okay, I'm not even getting them. Just got typos. Oh, no way. No way. Oh. Dang it. Dude, that was really good for first attempt. That was really good. Woo! Okay, here we go. So we got exceeded here on 44. So it's probably my condition. So if it's 3, it's 1, you return 1 back. Huh. I fail on 44. Well, I get an infinite loop, time limit exceeded. Or I get minus. This minus is 1 every single time. This minus is 2. So because it's even, it'll go to 0, which is less than, so we return 1. Huh. Time limit exceeded. Anybody have any ideas what's going on here with this error? We're pretty close. Right off the jump. We passed case 1 and 2, but we got this time limit exceeded here. It might be my condition. So this is going down by 1 every single time. This is going down by 2 every single time on every number. If I go down by 1 every single time and I hit 1, I return 1 back. If it's 0, I return 1 back. Why would I be exceeding out on 44? Let's take this bad boy here. This is number 70. Throw that here. Time to open up the debugger. Okay. So we're going to call climb stairs on 44. We're going to call print on that. All right, here we go. Let's jump in and debug this. Let's jump in. Okay. Okay, we call climb stair 44. We call that 43, 42, 41, 40, all the way down. Calling stacks. Is it just because it calls too many recursive stacks? Returns 1, 3. What is going on? Look at the call stack. Okay, so we're getting n equals 0, returning 1. Two, 4, 5. Why are we going back to this if condition? Two, 1. Returns 1, n equals 2, n equals 0. N equals 3. It's returning 1 there. Unfolding 8. 4, 3, 2, 1, and we go back in. Huh. Return climb stairs 2. What? Huh. What if the n is -1? So you want me to say, well, it's not a part of our constraints. And it has to be between 1 and 45. So that doesn't apply here, unfortunately. Mr. Varut? So why are we getting stuck? Okay, so if we're on a 1, we can't go to 0. We don't want to go to 0. We want to go to 1. But do we want to go to 0? Do we want to... Do we want to go down? Like in terms of... Those are the constraints, right? But of the inputs, but we want to go all the way down to 0. So if n is equal to 0, return 1. So if n is equal to 0, do we return 1? If it's less than 0, so we're going down by 1 on this call, down by 2. So if we get to a place where we have 1 step, we can't make this call. So then we have to say if n less than 0, we return 0 back. That step did not count. Because if you go into the negative, you return 0, meaning that step did not count because it wasn't a valid step. If n is equal to 0, you return 1, meaning that you did make a valid step. It's taking a while here. Uh-oh. Looks like we didn't get it again here. I just run on that one. Did it break everything? So if I remove the 44 and I run, do I still get a loop, infinite loop here? Looks like. No, I pass. So 44 still kills me. Why is 44 doing me bad here? Yeah, so 44 doesn't work for this, right? I don't know why. Anyone care to explain why 44 doesn't work? Why does it get caught up in the loop? Is it just too many stacks? Is it just too many recursive calls? Hmm. Hmm. So if we're doing more work than needed, Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on here. Gave us one hint. To reach the nth step, what could have been your previous steps? So we pass the lower cases, but we fail high numbers. We just air out. Huh. Why so? Hey Armando. I've been here streaming every night. Just streaming, trying to learn and teach myself after my job. For those that are new, I have a job as a chemist. I have a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry. And I work as a formulation chemist for a biotech company. Huh. Okay. Let's go here and let's say, how can we deal with recursion on a large number? Can these stack overflow errors to excessive function calls? Use iteration instead, convert the recursion loop into a loop. If your loop supports it, rewrite the recursion in a tail recursive form. Memoization. Store computed values in a dictionary or use functional tools. Python uses sys.recursion limit to extend the depth. Implement a recursion using a stack. Store computed values in a dictionary. Return. Tim. Yeah, this one was a little bit tricky, huh? We were able to solve these two cases up front pretty quick, but we got failed on some large numbers here. So if we want to store computed values in a dictionary, to avoid redundant recursive calls. So we need a set. Do I need to have this outside of the function? Doesn't it be like scene values is equal to a set, and then we say right off the jump, if and not in scene vals, we append. No, we don't append into a set. So we say here, if So if n in seen vals, if it's in there, we've already seen it, we don't want to call a recursion on it again, right, for whatever reason. So if it's in there, we want to return return 0. If n is 0 at this case, you return 1. Else you return this. I don't know. Let's try it. Still passed. Let's add in the test case of 44. No, dang it. Dang it. Not get it with that attempt there. Still exceeding. So this resets on every recursive call. So do I need to have seen values be passed in outside of the class? And give this as self.seen values? And then in here we pass in self, and then we say self.seen values. We add return that. So this needs to Dang. Interesting. In seen values, you store n and the answer for that n. So let's see here. If n is less than 0, we return 0. Or if n in seen values return 0. So seen values dot add. Return values. Else we'll add it to seen values. So let's add n minus 1. And then do we also want to add n minus 2 as well? So if we add them both, the resulting values of these changes, we don't want to call no, I don't think that'll work either. 0, 0, 0. So at the very start, n is going to be 44. It's not in our scene value set. So we will go ahead and say, okay, 43, 44 gets added in. It reduces down. So that's not, okay, so that won't ever move because it's in the scene values. So that's why that's not working. So if it's in scene values, then go ahead and do the call on it. So we'll return 0 here. We'll say if n minus 1 and n minus 2 a map. Okay, so if we use a map instead and map it to its values, so if let's discuss memoization. Is an optimization technique where you can store the results of expensive function calls and reuse them when the same input occurs again. This reduces redundancy. Cache the results. Store previous computed results in a dictionary or similar data structure. Check before computing. Before computing recursion, check if results is already cached. Okay, so if we do a 44, okay, if we map a n minus 1, so a 44 minus 1, we've already computed that, so we don't need to do it again. We can get it. So, what do we want the key in the map to be? The number before performing recursion, check if the result is already cached. If the result exists in the cache, return it instead of recomputing. So would we have a key of a string of the current n value minus 1 if that's already been computed, so let's just think about this. If we're loading in 44 into the climb stairs function, does not equal 0, less than 0, so we don't return 0. It does not equal 0, so we don't return 1. What do we want to store on this compute? What do we want to store on this compute in the dictionary? If we're on 44 and we're going to call climb stair on 43 and call it on 42. Well, if we call on the 40, if we call climb stair 43 and climb stair 42, the climb stair 43 is going to be called again to climb stair on 42. So we want to go and say scene vals index so we want to get, so if n minus 1 in scene vals, which will be a key, if that's in scene values, we don't want to compute it again. We want to go to scene values and get the key of the value of n minus 1 or return 0. Well, it's in there, so it should have a value. Huh. Huh. Not sure. So, say don't show code. Use a storage mechanism. We're computing a sum here. So if I don't want to do repeated work on a value, I am recursively decreasing. How could I go about setting this up? You need to store computed values and retrieve them when needed. Here's how you use ACE dictionary, right? Before making a recursive call, check if the value has already been computed. So this is the value, that the overall value that we're returning. So we would say, like, if this value is in scene values because this is going to return back a 1 or a 0. Instead of blindly making recursive calls, first check if the current value has been processed. If not, compute it, store the result, and return it. So we would say val. If it's in there, we're going to get it. Else value is equal to this. And we're going to do seen vals. At index n minus 1. Plus n minus 2. I don't know. Is going to now be set equal to val. We're going to return val. So if it's in seen values, we're just going to go return seen vals index n minus 1 plus n minus 2. I don't think that's it either, but I don't think that this works best when a recursive function calls itself on the same values multiple times. So would this be what I compute? Would we want the key to be a tuple of n minus 1, n minus 2 in seen values? N minus 1 and n minus 2 are two different states. I am still having trouble understanding the check on already computed vals. Think of it like keeping a notebook where you write down answers to problems you've already solved. If you ever need to look at the same answer again, you look it up instead of recalculating. Before computing, check if the answer is already in storage. If yes, return it immediately. Imagine you're computing a Fibonacci. Normally you'd break it down like, is 4 plus 3, 3 plus 2, 2 plus 1. Notice how fib 3 and fib 2 are computed multiple times. You first calculate them. The next time you need fib 3, you just look it up instead of computing again. So would my key be the value or result of fib 3 or or 3 or a string, quote, fib 3 your key should be the input value, the 3, and the stored result should be the computed value of fib 3. Okay, so if n minus 1 is in scene values, we return the value of n minus 1. So what happens if the other one's not in there though? Well, this one's going to go twice as fast. Right? So this will go down to 43. On 44, this will go down to 42. 42 gets called here as well on that stage, which gets dropped down to 41. And this gets called here, which gets dropped down to 40. So if n minus 1, the 33 in scene values, we return this. But what about if n minus 2 is in the scene values? Right, if n minus 2 is in the scene, for example. So we return that back. If n minus 2 in scene values, we're going to do the same thing. Right? Else, we're going to set them and return val we set it equal to the computed. So what do I save though as the computed values? We saw it. We compute this value at that stage. Huh. Right? By theory, if n exists in scene, then n minus 1 and n minus 2 as well exists. In theory, by theory, if n exists in the scene values, so we're starting off on like 5, right? That's not the case here. That doesn't exist here. So if 4 is in the seen values, we return that it's not there. Because it's the first pass. If 3 is in the seen values, return this. It's not there. Else, we compute a value which is 1 step down and 2 steps down, and return that value. But we need to set the value, now that we've seen them, not yet. That's what I'm trying to figure out here is how, what do we, which key do we store it as? Both of them? Or the value for both keys? N minus 1, N minus 2? Because if the 5 exits, let's say, N minus 1 of 5, 4, as well exists, so then N minus 1 of 4 as well exists 3, N minus 1, wait, is N minus 2 of 5, then this means this would exit. There's a problem. Okay. And a top-down approach with using a memo map. Huh. Yeah, the whole memo map is what I'm not really wrapping my head around here. It's the first time I've ever kind of done it here for recursion. And I'm already not very good at recursion as it is, so... okay, let's just think here. So... let's say... so this is saying next time fib3s need to check if the 3 exists in the dictionary before computing it. So next time we need to access the 3, well, the 3... okay, so hold on. We need to say left equals to this, right equals to this. We're going to set seen vowels at index n minus 1 equal to left, and then do the same for right for n minus 2. Sum, or say val is equal to left plus, and then just return left plus right. So else left equals this left, this one computed. The right equals this right one computed. We set those to the dictionary and return left plus right. Now we have to say self dot seen values, I think, right? And then, how about that? Seen values is not the... solve that one, missed that one, didn't get that one. Dang it. Dang it. I feel like we're really close, but not quite there. It's okay. Don't get frustrated. We're almost there, you guys. It's all part of the process here, learning along. Appreciate you guys for being here. Leave a like if you like the struggle. I really try my best to convey like a beginner point of view of me learning this after my 9 to 5 job. Um, but for 44, you return 43 at line 12. At line 12. I read all your comments, man. They come up on my screen. I have to read them. I'm forced to, literally. um, you return answer for 43 at line 12. Line 12 here. I return the answer computed at 43. Okay, so I need to return. Oh. So what happens if you have one that's seen and one that's not? And n minus 2 not in self, not seen vals. Then you return this plus self dot climb stair on n minus 2 or n minus 1, sorry. No, n minus 2. And do you do the opposite for the one above? Else they're both not in there, so you call it on both. Like so. Doesn't look like it. Rethink line 13 and 15. What if n exists itself exists in scene values? Oh. So if n is in scene values. Hey, Wing Kong. Appreciate you for jumping in here, dude. Welcome back in, man. Awesome to hear from you. Okay, so if n itself is in the scene values, so if n is in scene, so if n is in there, what do we want to return on that? If n is in scene values, we return the value of n in scene values, but What about current stare? Answer is stored. What about current stare? Answer is stored. What about... So, in the else statement, if n in scene values we're going to return... What do we return here, though? You store n minus 1 and n minus 2, but what about n? Yeah, that's what we're trying to solve right now, I think. Oh, so you want me to climb stare on n here as well? No, I'm already climbing stare on n. Right? So I'm already climbing on n itself. If this isn't, else. If n is currently in scene values, do we just return 2x the value? Store left plus right equals f of function of n. Yeah, I'm not really sure what that means. What about if I'm calling like fib n minus 1? Choose meta 1, 3. Alright, stored it, don't need to compute it again at 3. See line 20, 21, and 23 repeatedly. '20, 21, and 23 repeated. So these three. So you compute a left and a right. We save those values into the scene. Oh, then you say self.scene values at n is equal to left plus right. You return left plus right. If n in scene n self dot. So if n is in, you return right away Alpha, it's one or the other. The other, else you compute both of them. Save them as left or right. Save the current one and move forward. Ugh. Bunch of these. Okay, scene values. Do I have any more of those? No. All right, let's see. Oh. Here we go. Got it. Boom. Woo! Nice. That one took us an hour. A little over an hour. Feels good. All right, so let's review. So, a lot more code than my original first submission here when I solved the first two cases. Thanks, Varun. Appreciate you guys' help. Yes, big shout out Varun, Shavang, Jocelyn, Eddie. Appreciate you guys. I'm really bad at drawing out those recursion traces. That's why I didn't do the drawings, because honestly, I probably should get some more practice with them on a more basic level. I just suck at them. It doesn't really do me that much good. I just need more basic practice. I think with recursion in general, for understanding those trace drawouts. But let's try to go over this. So base cases are here. So if you go beyond 0, you return 0 because you went beyond your step. That didn't count. Right, or the allotted steps available. If n equals 0, we return 1 because, okay, that was a valid step down to 0. You return 1 at that point. So if n is in seen values, you can use factorization tree. What is that? I haven't heard of those before. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. Yeah, I really try my best to just convey an authentic struggle through these problems and what it's really like to learn these independently. I have a degree in human biology and chemistry. I'm trying to learn and teach myself computer science after my 9-to-5 job every day. And so I've been doing this by reading books. I've read Python Crash Course. I've taken Harvard CS50P. We're reading Fluent Python and data structures and algorithms in Python live on the channel. We alternate days. So we read out of DSA in Python today, right here. And so we're on page 437. So all of my DSA knowledge has come straight out of this book, pretty much, and the small little bit we got in Harvard CS50X as well. And so I really, really appreciate you guys, helping me out with this. And my whole goal here is just to convey an authentic approach and just document my learning as I'm going, just because I find it really interesting, and I might as well, document it for my personal reference as well as for anybody else that might be in a similar situation. So I figured, if I'm going to be sitting here teaching myself this after my job, just because I find it fun, I might as well, stream it and, make some friends along the way. So thank you, Varun. Thank you, Shafang, Jocelyn. Am I saying that right, Jocelyn? Thank you guys, truly. You did amazing. This is a tough without knowing recursion. Yeah. I've never heard of this whole value map before. I've never done that before. So you're saying that we can delete these lines here, 13 through 16, and then we can just move these back, and will that pass still? Yes. Okay, so those statements weren't ever coming true because one or the other was in the map. You either had the value of n in the map, you compute the left and right down. this then, okay, I get it. Okay, so what it's going on is it wasn't ever doing that because every value was going into the map on n, right? Because if n isn't in the map already, right, then what we do is we compute a left, which is n minus 1, and a right, which is n minus 2. We save both of those into the map, and then um, save n as those two values together. So not only does the current value of n get saved, the one below it and the one two below it get saved. So when we call again, basically we'll have all three of those values already computed. It'll move to the next three, and then be, and so on and so forth. So it'll kind of move in chunks. Yeah, I feel like this one was a medium for real. I agree with you, Tim. This one definitely seemed a little bit more challenging than some of the other easy ones. Did that explanation help kind of describe what was going on? Hopefully that was accurate. Please let me know if I'm not saying accurate things. Like, my whole goal here is this: I'm learning this live, and so I'm not trying to teach or convey anything. I'm trying to teach myself this. And if you happen to learn anything from that, then kudos, fantastic, cherry on top. But take everything I say with grains of salt, because I myself am a beginner intermediate in this. I'm trying to teach myself, so I'm not going to be able to convey everything one to one how it should be. So if you, and plus I want you guys to correct me so I am getting the right information for this. But I appreciate you guys for joining me. Leave a like if you enjoyed that struggle through that problem. We solved problem number 70 today. We're on quite the streak. We've solved a Leet code problem a day for the past like 5 days or so. So we've really been keeping the streak alive on Leet code, because I know you guys like it so much. But yeah, so we completed number 70, climbing stairs. Let me go ahead and just add that solution to my um, notes here. That's my DSA and Python notes. There you go. Get rid of that. Okay, so okay, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to say, okay, I solved the problem and I want to discuss the functionality of what is going on during this algo. Great, let's break down the functionality. What problem are you solving? The climbing stairs solves the climbing stairs problem where we can either climb one or two steps at a time. This follows the Fibonacci sequence pattern, where f of n is equal to f of n minus 1 plus f of n minus 2, where f of n minus 1 is a ways to reach the step n by taking one step from n minus 1. F of n minus 2 is ways to reach step n by taking two steps, right? How does your algorithm work? Your algorithm uses recursion plus memoization to efficiently compute the result. Base cases. Base cases. If n is less than 0, return 0 since it can't have negative steps. Perfect. I got that. If n equals 0, you return 1 because there can actually be one way you can make a step at 0. Recursive breakdown. Before computing the climb stairs, the function checks if n is already stored in the scene values. Right? Perfect. We got that. If n is already stored, it returns the cached result, avoiding redundant computations. If n is not stored, the function computes it recursively. Left, ways to reach n minus 1. Right is the ways to reach n from n minus 2. Store left, right in the scene values, and store the result in scene values at n. You return left plus right, which represent the total number of ways to reach n. Without memoizing, the recursion tree computes values multiple times, 2 to the power of n. Storing results, you ensure each unique n is computed only once, resulting in a linear time complexity. Oh, I store these, but only a scene value on n is necessary. So if I take those away and run, that should still work as well. Hmm. Because those values will be overrode by n at a later call. Well, they're already being computed. You store values n minus 1 in left and the scene values n minus 2 as right, but those values are already stored in previous recursive calls. Interesting. No, this is just the Chat GPT IO Mac OS app that you can download, and then you can enable a setting to just do like a spotlight search, like you can with Command Space on Mac to do a spotlight search. You can there's a setting in Chat GPT where you can do Option Space, and it'll pull up just a Chat GPT prompt, spotlight prompt, and so that's what I use here. And I will always specify, please don't show me code. Let's talk through in words. And that's really how I've been able to learn. I've been using, the AI, the GPT, the Almighty Orb, as kind of like my personal TA, or or partner, or what is it? What are they? Not coworker, but not student, colleague or whatever. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and work on our project now. So for you guys that don't know, I've been building a project as well on the channel. This is the Small Business Manager in Python. Um, this is a pretty cool project that we've got going so far. I'm really trying to focus on proper project architecture and structure, really focusing on the ability to scale and to actually continue to add features without bottlenecking and running into refactorization and things like that. So really trying to focus on getting a good organization for this project and practice that. So really trying to break down these directories and classes into separate files, and really take my object oriented approach into the next level of proper organization and project structuring. So right here we have a main app and an app.py file within the main app folder, a directory of the Small Business Manager. And within this main app, we just have our main to Kinter window set up here, which is set up via the Small Business Manager class. We're using object-oriented programming to call to Kinter object instances on our own Small Business Manager class, and then create basically template tabs using classes as well. So a lot of these tabs, I just created a basic template, and then I'm importing those templates into here to actually pack onto the notebook itself. So I'll show you guys what this looks like in just a sec, but we are also connecting our database in our app.py here via SQLite. So before, my first 1.0 version of this project was all via JSON and CSV files and manual file IO, saving and writing and reading. So now I'm using a database of SQLite to handle this for me, and to also query for data as well. So it's pretty cool for that. So what I got, I had some time on my lunch break today at work to work on this a little bit, and I was able to actually set up. And if you guys saw the after hours stream yesterday, last night I did a part 2 on the day and did an after hours stream late into the evening, and we worked for about an hour on setting up the linkage between the front end and the back end. This is pushed to GitHub just privately because it is my final project for Harvard CS50X, but I will be making it public when it's kind of getting closer to being completed. So, and then when it is completed, I'm hoping to make it public and more of an open source project, or whatever, so we can work on it together as a stream and add additional features and whatnot, and maybe convert it to a web app from there and get some practice too. So But what I got going on here, this is my inventory tab. So I wrote some functions here last night. Last night I wrote the add inventory function, which will try to get some information, right? It'll use the get functions across these various entry boxes I made, just like a form using Flask and whatnot, um, and using using get methods, right? So I'm getting those, saving that information as a variable. If any of those are none, right, I'm going to raise a value saying add item failed, right? A value error, no value detected in an add item input field, right? So that is the error raised, right? So if you pass that, meaning you were able to get data from these, we now need to validate that data. So we will run a couple of auxiliary functions here. So I have an auxiliary within my app here. I had to throw it somewhere. So I threw it in my classes just for temporary to get it to update and be able to detect in my directories. I need to kind of organize that a little bit. But I wrote these in my previous 1.0 version, these checks. So I've been able to just copy these directly in and utilize the same functions that I wrote before. So I just had to modify them slightly. So I have a check cost here. So if cost is none, we return cost right off the bat. It's just we return none. Okay. Um, if if there's a period in cost, right? Because cost is a string. If there's a period in cost, we're going to split on that period, which will be inferred dollars and cents. We convert dollars to int, and then if that's less than 0, we raise a value error. Um, we then convert the cents to an int as well, and if the cents is greater than 99, or cents less than 0, right, raise value error as well. Except for if you catch this value error, we're going to return none and the error message as well. So I don't think I want to do that per se here. I'm going to say raise value error and say so what we'll do is we'll break this up. So we'll say if dollars, so try to convert the dollars to int, except a value error, right? We're going to except if we get a value error, we're going to no, hold on. So how do I want to do this? So if you unsuccessfully are able, if you can't convert dollars to int, then I want to, if you can't convert dollars to ints, then we want to raise the error except value as E. No, because I want to return this error back. Like, return. No. So, you split, you convert dollars to int. Hey, Edwards, what's going on, dude? Thanks for jumping back in. If dollars is less than 0, so right, we need to do some kind of check though. If this is unsuccessful, raise value error. So we'll say try to convert dollars to ints. If you get a value error, right, you're going to raise a value error for this specific type. Error dollars dollars could not be converted to an integer. So if dollars is less than 0, right, at an integer, raise value error. So what happens if you just put in cents? Split. So what happens if dollars is blank, is none? You split and get none back for dollars. So we'll say if dollars is none, right, we're going to so is not none. So not equal to none, then we're going to try and convert it. Okay. So if dollars is less than 0, we raise a value error and say error dollar amount must be positive. Must be greater than or equal to 0. Zero or greater. Then we say we split to cents. We convert int Okay, so let's think here. So if the period is in the cost, we want to split on the period. If dollars is none, if dollars is not none, we want to try to do all this. If cents is not none, then we're going to convert int cents right, cents is not none, convert it. If cents is greater than or cents is less than 0, raise value error for error cents invalid cents. Invalid dollars. Okay. So then we're going to say if cents is none, we concatenate dollars to cents. If it is none, so what happens if dollars is none? Does none zero type error? So if you get none here, except for a type error, okay, so we'll go like this. Try to convert dollars, except for a value error, raise this, except for a type error, raise so maybe I'll just keep it as dollars int and then catch it in the other one. Hey, Skullmaker, how's it going? Sorry I missed your chat. We're working on our small business manager project right now, our CS50X final project. It's coming along quite nice. I'll show you guys what it looks like here once I get this function worked out really quickly. Hold on. So we're going to int. This will raise an error, a type error, or a value error if you can't do it. So if you try to then say less than, we're going to raise our custom error, invalid dollars. Invalid negative dollars. Negative dollar amount. If cents, so then we'll leave that. We'll convert cents, and then say if cents is range of 0 to 100, not in range 0 to 100, raise value error invalid cents. Else, we're going to convert dollars to cents and combine them total for a cost in cents. And then return cost in cents. Okay. So if there is no period, we're going to cost is equal to say if cost in cents is less than 0, raise value error, error valid. Cost. Valid dollar amount. We're not going to say this. This raises a value error. And then return cost at the end of this in cents. Okay. Yeah, Skullmaker, for sure. Yeah, I'm down to, just collab with people on here and let me know what you think. Okay, so this is our current program. So this is what we got so far. So this is our current window. I'm making the user data myself. So this is the small business manager. We are computing inventory. So we have an inventory tab, and right now this is what we're working on right now. We have an expenses tab, and we have a transactions tab so far. We also have an income statement tab and a balance sheet tab, but those are blank for right now. And we have a settings as well. So in the inventory, we have a matrix here, and we're trying to add items, right? We are currently working on the checks for those ads, right? So in our function here, for the inventory tab, we have the add item, which is an event, right, on the button command. So on the button for adding an item, the command is set to self.add item to inventory. So that's what's happening here. As we're handling that event, we're not actually referencing any specific event like a key that was pressed, but it is an event, so but we don't need the parameter event. So we are going to try and get data from those entry boxes for adding an item, right? Right here, those 4 entry boxes. We are then, if any of them are none, we raise this error, meaning that the add item failed, no value detected in an add item input field. So that'll be the error that's raised. We will then go ahead and do try, right? So this will raise this error here. So let's go. Let's just make it add item failed. So this raises a value error. So if it raises a value error. So I don't want to raise the value error. I want to, my error is going to be right, self dot add item status message label dot config text is going to be quote add item failed, right? Conflict has to be applied to, we'll say, status. So that's what's going on here, right? Yeah, status, none. Status add item failed. So you should be doing form validation in the field itself if you can. That way you don't have to do all this type and error checking and just parse the input in your business logic. Okay. What do you mean in the field itself? Don't allow users type in A into the price field. Oh, gotcha. So they can't even type characters into the price field. Huh. So I'd have to manually take this entry box and set configurations as to what characters are allowed into it. Interesting. So right now we're just using checks, right? Yeah, I'm not sure how I would do that with decanter entries. So if any of these are none, the item failed. And then we return false. Try and check date, check size, check cost, except if you get a value error from any of these. You set the configuration label to that. If you get a value error here, huh. Yeah, okay. I like that idea. So we'll go with this for right now, and then we'll try to optimize further down the line. Yeah, I've used a bank field. Put a period in the right place for you. Yeah. Try to like reduce the amount of user error. Try to do checking on the fields there. Okay. So try to get these. Okay, let's see if this will at least. Okay, so the add item will try to get values, except for a value error on a get. What does tkinter widget entry dot get return if there is no value? Empty string. Okay, so these aren't none then. They're empty strings. So we have to say is equal to an empty string if any of these are equal to empty strings. then we're going to change the label config to status add item failed. We'll say failed blank entry. Right? That's a good idea. I would do something like air out equals string get values. Hey Shavong, what's up, dude? I would do something like air out is equal to a string get values if value 1 process else air out plus equals error. Also here. And just do your checks for all non-null values, appending to the error output as needed. Okay, so let's first get it working with just a simple fail blank entry. That returns false if any of them are blank strings. We'll try to get check date. So let me go ahead and go to my auxiliary. So check cost will raise an error if the dollar amount is less. So if you get an error, you set that error to the text and return false here as well. So date check turn the date that passed raise a value error. So if you don't get it, so we get a check date. This parses and gets a date out of here. We turn it as a string. Except if we get a value error, we return none. Do we want to return none here? What do we want to return for these checks? We want to either return the value or none. So check size returns the size or none. So if any of these are none, so then do we want to even raise accept value? So just convert it to a string and return it? Accept a value error. Do we want to raise value errors? And say date check failed. Like that. Right? Do date check. We'll say except if we get a value error, we'll override it with a custom value error of date check failed. And so then if you get risen here, that'll be as E and that'll be replaced and we return false. So for date, we'll do the same thing then. So check cost. We're raising value errors, raising, okay. And then for check date, we're raising check date, check cost. If item not in size, we're gonna raise the value error here and say size check failed. Right? Yeah, so I'll try to make some more detail. The only problem that I'm having is that my current app, I just don't have that much room for messages. Like I'm keeping this window fixed because I don't want to deal with resizing at the moment. I can do the grid and resizing, but I think it'd be easier just to keep this app in a single fixed window. I don't think it really needs to get bigger in general. I'm going to add a scroll bar here anyways. So I wanted to keep it just as, limited as possible. So I'm running out of room to display these statuses, below these things. Now, what I could do though is Tkinter, I would need to look it up and do some research on it, but Tkinter does have an error message box pop up, which I think would be like a pop up just like to the window itself that the user would have to clear to remove. So potentially we could, um, you know, provide simple messaging here for like success or whatnot, and then we could provide error pop-ups in total. That might be like well, so let's just get something working for right now, and then we can always come back in. I found that my previous program, what really made it difficult is I had a bunch of really great ideas, and for the previous iteration of this, but it got really hard to scale because I was um, because I was trying to add in too many features at once, and then I was only getting them partially done before moving on to the next one. And then I was trying to go back and fix things, and then it was breaking. And so I just really need to focus on one task at hand, fix it, get it done, and then if I want to improve on that task, then come back to it and improve on it when it's finished, and not yeah. So I'm learning from my mistakes here. Okay, so minimum viable product, you get that first, then you add Flare. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Is you get like a minimum viable product with some simple statuses and stuff, and then we can display and add on like an error message box or whatnot. So I was starting to go back to my roots and starting to work on features and expenses and transactions, but I was like, no. Let's just get the inventory working and then move on and get expenses working and then do transactions and then, from there. Okay. It's not, Rome wasn't built in a day. We're day by day, guys. Cut yourself some slack. Thanks, Skullmaker. I appreciate you coming in on Twitch. I'm also streaming over on YouTube if you prefer on there. I have about 1.6K subscribers on YouTube. I stream every single day around 7 p.m. PST, me studying and building projects and trying to teach myself. I have a degree in human biology and chemistry, and I work as a formulation chemist for a biotech company. And so this is what I do after my job, is this. Okay, so now what's going on? What do we have here? So we have these checks. If you get a value error from any of these checks, you will display that value error as the message label override and return false. If you get a value error from any of these gets, then you will also return false, right? Right? And so self.database.add item to inventory. No. So we'll call our database add item to inventory function, which will add all of these, and then to the inventory, and then we call the refresh and return true. Thanks, Goalmaker. That's awesome. He's a senior DevOps engineer. That's sweet, dude. Well, I really appreciate your advice. So I look forward to, working with you here. It's awesome. I have a Discord linked in my YouTube bio if you want to check it out. It's completely free. It's kind of just a roadmap of my learning, and you can chat offline with us and me and a bunch of other people in the kind of community. So feel free, man. Okay, so let's see if this will work then. app.py add item. So if we go, we have our error message box here, right? So let me drag this over so you guys can see it. So any errors that'll pop up will come up here, right? For right now, hopefully. And also hopefully here. So let's just try to add off blanks. Oh, look at that. Yo, let's go. Okay, so now we got status failed, entry blank. So now we can specify the specific entry, right? Woohoo! Status failed, entry blank. Okay, so that's cool. So if I put in like XXX, 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 if I put in blank, okay, still getting that same message. But if I put in invalid, date check failed. Okay, so because it'll do the date check first, then the description, then the size, then the cost. So that's why it's okay. So now let's give it a proper date, 2025 dash 03 dash 24. Let's see if this description. No, the description, it can be anything. So we'll give it someone here. We'll give it Skullmaker. You've been helping out. We'll make it Skullmaker 90 for the description. So the size, this should give us a size check fail here, because the description can be anything the user puts in, really, to describe their item. Size check failed. Woohoo! Look at that. Oh my gosh. Oh, not my YouTube bio, but my the bio of the YouTube stream. Sorry, Skullmaker. I apologize. I need to put it in better places. Okay, so now we'll give it a proper size of medium. And then now we should say cost check failed. Invalid literal for int with base 10 XX. Yep, so that's that error we got from the conversion of int, right? Now if I go like this, let's go -$1. Error invalid dollar amount. Now let's go 0.35 cents. Invalid literal for int with base 10. So that should have taken it. Unfortunately, we do have something wrong there. So our cost check. So if this is in there, we split, we convert. So if dollars, then we'll convert dollars to here. If dollars is there, and then we'll say if cents, right, there, right. So if not dollars, then, so if this is none, so we'll take this then, X, put that, nope, put that there, dollars and cents, so that'll convert it. Else dollars, right, else dollars is equal to 0 if cents, else cents equals to 0. So if there's dollars, we'll convert dollars to ints if you can. If dollars is less than 0, raise a value error, invalid dollar amount. Dollar and cent, we'll convert it to cents there. We'll take this. Dollars in cents is equal to 0, right? We convert cents to integers if there is cents. If it's in that range, then if it's not in that range, then raise value error. Else cents is equal to 0 if there's not any. And then we'll compute a cost in cents is dollars and cents plus cents, which is set to here 0 if it's not, right? If it's none, and then we'll return that. So this would be 0 plus the cents. So now that should work for our given program. And then we return cost in cents. Okay, so now we'll go app.py and run that. Okay, let's see what happens here. Let's go ahead and clear that out for you guys. Oop. So you guys can see. Okay. Ryan says, hey Alex, how's it going, dude? Ryan says, so this was made all using VS Code only. Yes, I only used Tkinter and VS Code here. I didn't use any HTML or CSS or anything, or Flask framework. So this is all just Tkinter so far, and just Python object-oriented programming. So I don't have those bugs quite aligned yet, Skullmaker. I haven't quite gotten that point. Well, if they put in 2 decimals, right, you'll try to split on the first one. I guess it'll just like fail because then I guess you'll have a decimal inside of your int conversion somewhere, and that will fail. So if you have 2 decimals, it'll try to then convert the decimal inside of either dollars or cents, depending on which side it was on, into an integer, and that's where it will fail. So it won't accept 2 decimals, I think. Okay, so now if we go here and go date 2025-03-24, we give a description of a Skullmaker 90. This is our product. A size of a medium and a cost. Let's give 1256 or 1526, right? And let's see if this will add. Ready? Fingers crossed. Yo! Whoa! Nice. So, even though we are right in my cost check, we are converting these to total cents and returning that back for the database. Right, my database is saving the values of transactions in total cents, so I'm not dealing with floats. I'm using just integers here, and then I'm displaying those back using my cents to dollars function on the cost variable on the displays, so back into dollar format. You'll need a try catcher on the timer. Yeah, so if we want to have a specific thing come up for an invalid cost, so let's give like 15.26. Too many values to unpack, expected 2, right? So this tried to unpack on there, and then there. So you did get an error there. So what if I gave 0.25 and add that? Okay, that took my that. Now if I go negative, that still took that. Now if I go 2255, invalid since. Perfect. So, okay, so there are a couple of checks we need to account for, but it's robust enough so far, I guess. um, yeah. I mean, I could just probably use some regular expression to really just define a set parsing phrase of two integers up front, or as many integers up front as long as there's no leading negative, a period, and then two decimal places from then forward would probably be the best way to go about it. So, but for right now, I think it's robust enough to kind of get the job done ish. But so when we come back and polish things up, I think it would be beneficial for us to um, uh, implement like a regular expression. Yeah, I'm not handling any of the dollar sign either. So these shouldn't get taken though because you can't convert that to an integer. So this should still fail, right? Via that int check. I'm not raising a custom message for it right now because, like you said, I don't have the try except wrapped around the int conversions for these, but I'm just having these. It's still throwing these checks. Okay, so cool. I mean, that's the general gist here, right? So now it's kind of like rinse and repeat for these next three or two tabs, basically. Now, we do need to implement this search function. Now, my whole goal with the search function is that I want the user to be able to select a heading that they would like to filter. So let's say I would like a cost. And I want to select every item that has a cost of 0.25, right? So we would do a check cost on this or a check whatever, depending on this, right? And then we would have to run a query given that information. So select all from inventory where cost is equal to 0.25. And that will populate all of the values or items that have a 0.25 cost. And then we can visually update. Yes, this is a Tkinter tree view table. Yes. So then we can update our display here with a matrix, not refresh, but a display, right? We can update it to have those specific cost items of 25 cents. It might. I don't know. I haven't looked too much into it. We just learned Tkinter literally like last week. So all of this stuff that I've been writing so far, this is all just like 1 week of learning. I've been building this for about a week now. So I literally we watched some Tkinter videos live on the channel last week, and then I started just running into this. Now, I have been working on a simpler version than this for, I have been working on a more simple version than this in the CLI-based interface on the channel. I've been writing for about 2 months now. So this is the first project I did. It's got my my main program here has over 1,500 lines of code just in main here. But then I have all these items and globals and classes and my business manager, my my business.py. This one alone is almost 250. So it started to get really hard to scale this, but I am reusing some of these functions like those checks and things that I wrote in the past. So this is kind of like, as you can see, I created customized text-based menus to replicate a user interface. So this by using loops. So that's what I was doing before to access inventory, add item, find, view, and I was doing it this way. And so this is my first attempt at an actual graphic user interface, right? So actually, we did take an hour a couple months back and try to make it to Kinter window here, and it was a pretty big flop compared to what we have now. This was our first attempt back in the day. If you guys want to see this, let's go main menu, exit. So pretty close, right? We got pretty close, but no cigar. Anyways, that's our first attempt. Won't AI just replace this? You know, if it does, it does. I don't really care. I have a degree in chemistry and biology, so I can always do that. I'm just learning this for fun, pretty much after my job. So thanks for coming up, SS7IN. Appreciate you for coming in. Hey, Maz. Bro is such an inspiration. Thank you, dude. I really appreciate those kind words. If you guys are here, feel free to leave a thumbs up on the stream. It really helps YouTube keep our, our channel getting promoted. Thank you guys so much for being here. Okay, so we kind of have now that's working appropriately. Like our add item is now working, right? Our checks are good, and we're updating those errors, right? So can I call a configure? Because right now I'm configuring the text. Can I configure the message? And then that will update that. Because right now I'm going to have to put in another label to the left to say status, and then the message to the right. Rather, because I'll have to think about that. Okay, so then what is our next goal here, right? If this is our current approach, what is our next goal? We are appropriately adding items in. We are converting their cent cost into dollar amounts. We're displaying error to statuses to the screen, right? I might have like maybe import time and have this switch back after a certain amount of time. After like 10 seconds of displaying the error message, switch back the status. So then our next goal is going to be this search, basically, right? Okay, so we're going to have to get what was from here and get what's from here. We're going to have to update the command for this search button to be the search function, and then the clear button will refresh the matrix back to normal. Right, so that's what clear does. Will take us back to ground zero. All right. I'm kind of slowing down here, you guys, to be honest, so I might call it here for you. I stream every single day around 7 p.m. PST, so thank you guys truly for joining me, but I do slow down after my 9-to-5 job here, and after a few hours of studying, I kind of burn out and kind of need to just veg out on the couch for a little bit. And then I'll usually come on for maybe an after-hour stream if I'm staying up late, but I'll probably have to hit the bed early tonight just in case. So we can quickly, let's do one thing here. We can be productive. So let's go ahead and give a command to the search item button, the clear button. we're going to give this a command equal to self.refresh inventory matrix. So then all inventory, this fetches all the inventory if there are none and deletes the current children in the matrix. If there are no inventory, we don't need to print anything. So if inventory, we're going to loop through the inventory convert the tuple to a list, index into that list, convert the dollars to the cents to dollars for the amount, and then insert it into the matrix. So then, can I go like this? Status is none. Can I say, if I say command is this, and self dot reset search item status message. Now we'll go here, def reset search item status message is equal to, right, which takes in self self dot search item status message label dot configure config text equal to quote status none, right? So that just resets that really easily. Matrix reset for the status. Do I have to call two commands? How can I wrap these calls?
Can I wrap these in a tuple to call them both? Search item button. Search item status message label. Um, huh. That should be calling. So why does that not throw an error? That does. Hmm. So then if I go matrix reset. Can you give a button and enter multiple commands? Hmm. So this will be clear search clear item search takes in self. This will be clear item search. Resets that. And then also calls self.refresh inventory matrix as well. So now if we run, that will, and it resets, but it's not doing it. It's doing it on every click here. So then how could I do this? So I had to select input.
All right, thanks, Skullmaker, for joining in. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Come back tomorrow for the normal study session. Just join and work on whatever you're working on. Just kind of hang out. If you want to use it as a hangout, that's fine too. I appreciate you coming in and saying hello and meeting you today. Awesome to hang out with you. If you have any suggestions for our current program, please suggest it. Message me in the Discord of things you think I might find helpful or ways to go about this. I'm all ears. Currently, we're trying to just work through. Tomorrow we're gonna do this item search. I'm gonna think about how we can query these various headings for specific types, right? So, and the user might want to select ranges as well. So we might have to like allow for, if they select date purchased, they can specify specific ranges of dates. So they could say this date to this date and get it, right? But the thing that makes it difficult with that is that the user has to be really specific as to which date they insert, is if we're typing it in, right? Like, so Skullmaker suggested a calendar widget, right? So where they specify the dates, they literally select them via a widget. So I'll have to look into that. Maybe they have a calendar. But so right now it would have to be like 2025-03-10 to 2025-03-24. And they would have to search like that, and then we would parse their input, validate it, and then find items in that range. I believe they would. Seems like a pretty standard use case. Let's look up. Spelled calendar wrong. To use TK calendar module, third-party library that provides a calendar widget that you can easily integrate. First install the calendar widget. Calendar widget. All right, so or we could break this up. We could have it have another input box for the second option. So they could specify the date purchased, and then we could have to and from, right? So they could specify an ID to and from. A description would be just one input, right? So we could specify that if they give a size, cost, status, per date, ID, they can specify a to and a from, and then we can find ranges via that. 2 text boxes. All right, sounds good. Thanks, Skullmaker. I appreciate you joining in. I'm going to call it here for tonight, you guys. We streamed for 2 hours and 50 minutes this evening. We successfully got the inventory add item working appropriately. It's fairly straightforward and will give us messages now for invalid entries on these checks. And then our next goal is to, we also have this clear going on. So if I press clear, you see it removes that highlighting I did, right? And then, so kind of shift and then press clear. It clears it out, repopulates our matrix back to start, and that gives us matrix reset there. So that's pretty cool. And then maybe what I should also add is down in the bottom left-hand corner or something, maybe the top right, just an overarching refresh button for the tab to just reset everything back to default or back to launch or whatever. So I think that would be a good option as well. Lots of features, lots of stuff. See, this is my problem is I get so many ideas and then I just bottleneck my abilities because I want to bring so much stuff to life, but I'm only so limited. Anyways, I appreciate you guys joining me here. We were working on the small business manager for a while. We also completed Leet Code problem 70, where we were able to properly, what was it? What did we do? We recursively counted up the stair steps, climbing stairs. We solved this one today. This was my solution here. And then we read out of data structures and algorithms in Python here. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you guys tomorrow at my normal time, 7 p.m. PST. I really, really appreciate you guys joining. Please join the Discord link below where I can talk to you offline and you guys can get access to all my resources. But until then, I'll see you guys tomorrow.